こんにちは。ボンバットファミリーと私たちのライブ放送へようこそ。私たちはあなたの視聴とリスニングの喜びのための素晴らしいショーを持っています。今あなたのホストスコッティ・ジェイロとジェリー・ケーブルに Stay Bombad を楽しんで覚えておいてください。
You know, might go off, or I don't know, what kind of practical jokes do you play?
Well, with my new chemistry set, thanks to Brie Larson, I do like to make stink bombs.
Fantastic. It was fantastic.
Natalie is fantastic.
It's going to be fantastic. I mean, it's going to be...
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And it's awesome. I'm enjoying it. Absolutely awesome.
I'm so happy. George is so happy. It's just fantastic.
Hi, Ben.
Hi, George.
How's it going?
It's going all right.
Go Tigers, 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 go Tigers.
Wanna have you hear me? I wanna have you hear me say it.
Welcome to the Bombadcast.
What is going on, everybody? You know who it is. You know what time it is, too. It's Bombad time. What are you talking about? What? Yeah, every Thursday, Bombadcast. If you've never watched this before, you know, right now is the best time because Gerry is not here. What? How great is that? Just kidding. Gerry is wonderful. Gerry's my co-host. I'm Scotty Gerry, by the way. Nice to meet everyone here. Gerry is also the host of Hyperfocus, which is going to be it made its return recently, which is wonderful. Look at this. My co-host is pulling up comments. Wow. I love it. Oh, he's better than my current one. I hope Gerry listens to this like, hey, man, my feelings hurt. But Gerry has Hyperfocus, airs every other Saturday. Great show. He relaunched it with M from Pink Moke last weekend. It was amazing. They talked about Madonna and M's love for Madonna. Hyperfocus is not just Star Wars related. It has to do anything with what the, guest wants to discuss, which is wonderful. Every Wednesday, including most recently, Bombad Gaming. Yep, that's where I play some video games, hang out with y'all. I'm Scotty Gerry, by the way. Nice to meet all of you here. And we had a blast last time. We played some Fall Guys. Very, very stressful game. I don't know what I'll be doing next week, but next week is our 4 hour. What? It's not like a child. Walk it, want you? Is a 4 hour pizza stream. I love that Nick laughed at that. I could see it. We have a 4 hour pizza stream. So, yeah, we're gonna be eating pizza, hanging out, playing a game for 4 hours. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Sort of figure that right now. But all that being said, I'm glad all of you could be here. We do have a Patreon, by the way. Patreon, our guest is actually a patron as well, starting at $7 a month, or you can set your price entirely up to you. You get all kinds of perks. A lot of these we launched this month. Oh my God, thank you. And a couple of these things have happened. We're still trying to work out some logistics. I wanted a vacation. Gerry wanted a sabbatical as well. But some of these things have already happened. The care package is something I'm very excited about. I also recently got a bunch of buttons, a bunch of keychains in. So that within itself is just exciting. But yeah, let's talk about that. On it, you can also catch a show, The Greatest Teacher, something I've been working on about Joseph Campbell. Big fan of him, not just recently, in terms of what I've been studying these past couple of years as an educator. I love Joseph Campbell, and I talk about him a lot. And Jerry has a show called The Canon Junkie Corner, where he reads bits and pieces of a Star Wars novel and gives his thoughts. And all that being said, I'm happy to be here. That's a lot of talking. And yeah, I need to bring in my co-host. Okay, this guy right here. Okay, one of my favorites. He's also going to be one of the collaborators and co-host of a huge event coming up on September 17th. Okay, no joke when I say this. What happens that day is going to be groundbreaking on so many levels. I cannot get into the details yet. You will find out within the coming week. So you will know. You will know. Let's bring him in. The wonderful, the beautiful, my sweetest friend. Someone actually, we sat on the beach shirtless for like a hot minute about a week ago. Nick Mielke.
Hey, mate. Who invited you here?
Well,
it's a good question. It's a good question who invited me here. And I guess I'm going to play the role of George Costanza's father for just a minute. Air some grievances real quick up top. I don't know if you remember a couple weeks ago, you talked about that Patreon, and that's super exciting. That's super fun that you have that Patreon.
That's right.
And you have this thing where you read the names of your Patreon members. Usually at the
I
end
have
of
it right
the show,
here.
You read them off,
Yeah.
which is touching, fantastic. What happened the very first time you read off the names of your Patreons, Scotty?
I think I forgot a couple of people.
A couple of people.
Is that right?
One of whom would be this guy. So that's one thing. You know, I'm
gonna be honest with y'all. No, I know. Look, I'm a grown
human man. I'm a grown human man. I can let things go. This was actually a conversation we were having in my house just before I came out here to do the show. About other related items. Not in my house, other things, but you know, I can let things go. So I was like, cool, you know, things happen. I get excited. I get invited to be on with you this week. I love,
of course,
anytime I don't have to be in charge, I don't have to drive. I get to come and do something outside the norm of Podcast of the Wheels or my ATG cast stuff, which I dearly love. So I go to pull up YouTube and I'm going to copy the link because I'm getting the tweet ready. I'm doing my part. I'm going to be a good guest. I'm going to crank out a tweet that says, hey, come join us. Here's the link. What does the YouTube link say your guest is tonight, Scott?
Okay, what does it say? Because I edited it on StreamYard. I did, Nicholas.
I believe it says with Pete Fletcher. So I don't think I'm really wanted here anymore. So maybe it's just time.
You are more than wanted. I got desperate. And I'm like, you know, Pete can't make it. He's playing country music, you know, and I'm not even joking when I say that. And I'm like, who's the only other person that could actually hang and pull this off with me? Let me see what it says. It says Nick Mielke on YouTube. Maybe it is the current. It is a previous link you got. Look, I'll show you.
It does say it now. You're right. But when I copied it 20 minutes ago to put in a tweet, it said featuring Pete Fletcher.
I'm telling you. Look, I'll pull it up.
You changed it while I was talking. I'll tell you right now.
There's no way. Look at that. What does it say? Hold on. What does it say right here? Can you see it? Oh, I just made it large.
Yeah, there
right
it is.
Here.
I saw it now.
Musicians who need to do a Star War.
I don't know. Nick. You must have got William to go in the background and do this for you while I was complaining.
Of course.
You're just trying to make me look bad. All right. Well, here. I am more than happy to let bygones be bygones. Oh, wait. CW's got my back. I saw Pete's name.
No!
Receipts, baby. The mother's milk of me being right and you being wrong.
Jesus. Look at this. So, this is also a take, by the way. This is something I never even thought about. You sound like Cleveland from Family Guy.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm not familiar enough with Family Guy.
He's a black guy, so you sound like a black guy, which is kind of cool. I mean, let's be real. Like, but you within yourself. I don't feel like
I'm allowed to respond to that comment in any way.
Are you? Oh, well, okay. I'll take the heat for that one. I mean, let's be real.
Okay. But well, I'm willing to let bygones be bygones. And as such, I'm going to do what I do best. I've got a shot here. I'm raising it in your honor. Cheers to you. Happy Bombadcast.
That's why I love Nick. I love this because I didn't know there was a shot. We talked about 20 minutes before the show even started. Amazing. Yeah, look. There you go. Black guy, but voiced by a white guy. So I kind of got saved there with that one. Whew,
actually, now that I think about this, Alden and I talked about this a couple of days ago, and how if I ever get hit by a bus, somebody's going to have to delete all the voice notes in my phone where I've tried to do Lando impersonations.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. Lando's one of the best. I mean, hey, Nikki, that's how I'd say it. Like I don't know if I could do a better one.
Here,
I want to say one thing real quick. I love this guy. Just gonna say I love Alden Diaz. That's all. I'm gonna leave it just at that.
He's a real one.
He's a real one. Speaking of Alden, will actually be a part of Podathon, which is coming up. Nick, are you pumped for that? Let's be real. Are you pumped for that?
I grow monumentally more pumped by the day, because
by the moment,
obviously working with you, working with Pete, planning this last year was fantastic. Last year we had so much fun. I had a blast. I wasn't one of the planners last year, but I feel like I tried to help out as much as I could. I did my show, all that jazz. And so to be in from the beginning, working on it, and just knowing the effort that we're putting in, we're getting great help from amazing friends. And I'm going to go ahead and put this out there. No cap, as the kids say, it's going to be bigger and better than last year in ways that I'm not allowed to put into words at this exact moment.
Yeah. Yep. We'll leave it at that. I'm thankful for everything we've put together so far for the event. 6 weeks out, pretty much, right at 6-7 weeks. And right before, so to give a little bit of announcement, right before is D23. So like we'll be building off the hype of that as well. So we'll be talking about a lot of that. And then we'll have about 15 shows. I believe all of them have been announced. Let me see if I could pull up the Instagram post. But it looks like pretty much everyone's been announced in terms of who's contributing to the Podathon, not who their guests are.
I got you right here. Hold
yeah, I'm looking at it. You got it. Look at this. Big Chungus. Look at this. This is wonderful. Team Big Chungus, by the way. This is the trivia team of Alden and Michael. Look at this. What a beautiful slate. Look at that. Oh, my God. So you can see you got Coffee with Kenobi. You've got Nick right there. Amazing. We got Becca with Tarkin's Top Shelf. We got Pete, ATG Cast. We got Octo Radio with... we got the Bombadcast. We've got Star Wars Explained. What, Alex Amal? Are you kidding me? We got Tatooine Sons. We've got what's the other one? I can barely see
it. The Night Sisters podcast.
Night Sisters. That's right. You know what? And that's a show I'm not super familiar with just yet, and I cannot wait to get to learn about them. And I mean that.
That's right.
We've
Making
got
new friends.
Shadow, which is Katrina's wonderful new show. Yep. Very exciting. We've got what's the other one right there, Nick?
That's Followers of the Force.
Followers of the Force, yes. Heard of them. Wonderful. Broaxium. We've got Father Son Galaxy. Great podcast. We got Kanata's Castle. And we got the amazing Pink Milk. Truly one of the greatest shows in this space. But that being said, man, that's a lineup. That's an unreal lineup. All day. All day.
All hitters.
15 hours, probably.
That's right. Probably.
We're going to see
TBD.
if we can pull 15.
TBD.
We'll
sorting
see.
that out.
Oh, man. Yeah, we're
this is the best thing. September 17th, all day, Saturday. It's all for Make-A-Wish Foundation. If you're not familiar with Podathon, if you're one of the Bombadcast watchers and you're new to Bombadcast or Podathon or any of that, all the money is raised for Make-A-Wish. All the money goes directly to Make-A-Wish, and that's a big thing that we really like to push. The links that you will click on to donate are Make-A-Wish links, so we're not collecting the money and then you're hoping we turn around and send it instead of just buying Scotty a Ferrari or something. It's all going directly to Make-A-Wish, and last year we raised over $8,200. We have set the goal for $10,000 this year. I truly think we're going to blow it out of the water, and I can say also, I think Pete said this actually in a message he put up earlier. We're at $600 already, and the event is still more than a month and a half away. So people are chiming in. You can go ahead and donate now if you want to. We're going to have raffles connected to that donation. For every $5 somebody donates, that's one entry into the raffles and the prizes that we're going to give away. And if you donate now, before September 17th, any donations made now, between now and the start of the event, are worth double entries into the raffle pool. So we're tracking all that. Bunch of amazing stuff to give back. We have Podathon buttons are going to be coming. The first 25 people to donate, period, are going to get one of those buttons. Lots of good stuff, and all for a very, very, very good cause.
Can't believe it. And we've already put a good bit of work into it, but we're not even really started yet. In terms of making things come to fruition. And I'm I'm eager to say that within the next week, you're going to hear a good bit of news. So there'll be some confirmation, some things we can finally address and bring into the forefront. And I'm very excited to say that. But all that being said, Nick, I'm so glad you're here. This is something I've always wanted to talk about, and I haven't figured out the right time to do it. And right now, we're right between Andor and we're just in the middle, right? We just came off of Light and Magic, which I've only watched the first episode. Have you watched an episode of it yet?
I've watched the first episode and like half of the second one, so I'm right about.
Dude, the first one was phenomenal.
I said to somebody this morning, I'm already sad that there's only 5 more and that it's going to end. Like, it's the kind of behind the scenes that I thrive on and I love so much, that it just is one of those things that this is my favorite kind of other Star Wars. I love behind the scenes. I love process. I love how did they do it, and especially in that era to get the history of ILM and to see the wild. They went and bought a thing and made a hot tub or a cold tub out of it for them to hang out. And it was the wild, it was the Wild West for a while. But out of that Wild West came unbelievable, earth-changing special effects.
Did you leave? Well, when it was over, did you feel inspired? Because I was blown. I was like,
without a doubt,
I want to play with my phone. Like, I want to like go film stuff outside and like, I just want to be creative and weird. Look at Coffee and Core bands here. But I don't know. I'm big into behind the scenes as well, Nick, and I'm glad you and I both share that love because some people could care less, but I really do think, when they showed the Dykstra Flex and they showed how the heck it worked and they had that, dude, I had never seen that shot of the camera zooming up on the Falcon and that guy was in the shot. I watched it 4 or 5 times. I had to show Katie twice. I'm like, you got to see how cool this is because we haven't ever seen anything.
There was one in the one today, and it's not a spoiler. It doesn't give anything away. But there's one where they talk about the shot of the escape pod. I think that was in the. That was
the first one.
Okay,
the very end,
the mica dust and the and the black. It's just black. He's like, you notice there's no stars. He's like, but I packed mica dust in around all these little areas, and that's such a thing. And when I was a kid watching the original trilogy, that scene when that escape pod goes, of course, the dust was something that I always noticed, and then there's also the added thing of the hooks. A few seconds after it leaves, those hooks go and they just move forward like it's resetting into a thing. And those little things have always stood out to me. And those are the things that I'm looking at going, these are the little details that I eat it up. So can't wait to watch the rest of it.
It's such a weird special because I always thought we saw everything. Like I always thought everything has been seen by the public, but there was so much archival footage that I truly could not believe that was unearthed. And you know what else is interesting too? They showed the film copies of those scenes, those special effects.
Yes.
And I wonder how they address George's, going back into it and reworking it. But oh my God, I completely agree. And like
that's right.
It was so cool to see like, Phil Tippett and Dennis Muren's childhood special effects scenes and stuff. I don't know.
I'm watching that now going, I wouldn't know how to do that right now with the iPhone I have. That's 1,000,000 times better than the cameras they had at that point. Like
literally,
they were looking at that fascinated.
It's analog. Like now we can digitally go and edit anything, right?
Right.
But like they were doing that analog with like, like doing double what's it called? Exposure. Like
yes.
I truly can't even figure it out. But yeah, man, we're in a weird time right now because we just came off of Kenobi, which was stellar. I loved it. It was amazing. But I will say, and I'm not the first to say it, music was lackluster for me. I thought they had some good moments, but I didn't resonate with me. And I'm really eager to see what Andor does because this is the other show that's like within its own category of show. 12 episodes, 24 episodes in total when it's it's done. It's going to run for a lot longer. The music might be really different than Ludwig van Gorsen. There's so much potential there. And I kind of wanted to open up the discussion with this. You growing up with the original trilogy, right?
Right.
Was there any like particularly fond memories with the music alone growing up with that?
There definitely was because again, the original trilogy was my childhood. I will say, and it's almost like this is a 1A, 1B situation. There was definitely Star Wars music. That opening fanfare, that was everything. Every time I saw those movies, whether it was the first time, whether it was the 30th time, that fanfare was so big. The music just, it set that atmosphere. I will say, probably at that age, more impactful than the Star Wars music was the Indiana Jones theme. And again, that's why I give it 1A, 1B, because I played Star Wars. I had figures. I pretended sometimes to do Star Wars stuff, but more often than not, if I was playing outside and playing pretend, I was playing pretend Indiana Jones more than I was playing pretend Star Wars, possibly because of the real world elements. And I could fake a whip and jump off of things and roll around and, you know, pretend to be in an Indiana Jones fight. And so that Indiana Jones theme was the thing that I heard in my head every time I jumped off of literally anything, or anytime I was running and doing that. But it's the same feeling. And I would say one of the bigger impacts for me with the original trilogy and with the music, and this was just because as I got older and started to notice more things, was the points when I realized there's almost no point in any of those first 3 movies where music is not happening. Like there's not silence. It literally is a space opera that is setting the tone and the scene for everything that's happening. If Obi-Wan is going across the bridge, trying to get to shut down the tractor beam, there's no dialogue. There's ambient noise and sound effects, but there's music under it that's driving you from one thing to the next. There's all but, and I'm sure there's a point somewhere where there is some actual dead space, silence, no music, but it's really, and so to me, that blew my mind. Like to go, you can have this entire thing. And they end up doing it later when the sequel trilogy came out. I know with Last Jedi on Disney Plus, you can watch the score.
Oh my God.
Cut of
it's
the Last
great.
Jedi. And I can have that on in the background and I can know what's going on in the movie based on what the music is telling me. And that is so powerful. And that's what it does to us, whether it's a conscious thing or whether it's a subconscious thing, because I love the Star Wars music. I love classical music. I love anything John Williams did, you know, so many of the people we're going to talk about tonight. But I'm also not the guy, like, I wish I knew more about it than I do. Like, I've had times where you've texted or Pete's texted, or I've got my buddy Steve that I started Podcast of the Wheels with. And all the time he's like, oh, yeah, in this part, they do a little, you know, redux to Rey's theme. And I'm sitting there going, I have to listen to it like 5 times to catch it and be like, oh, that's what that is. Like, I'm not as deeply ensconced into it as I'd love to be, but I love the music and it's so good for me. It's so calming. You know, I have it on in my office a lot of times. I've just got a John Williams playlist on Amazon and I just let it roll and put it on, you know, shuffle, and you're getting, you know, stuff from Close Encounters. You're getting Jurassic Park. You're getting E.T.
God, the best.
I mean, we could do a whole show just about John Williams and be, you know, set. But for me with the original trilogy, I definitely loved the music and it was such a crucial part of experiencing those movies as a kid. But I think the driving thing, and again, I kind of give it second place because it is John Williams, was the Indiana Jones score and what that did for my sense of adventure. Honestly, that's what adventure felt like as a kid.
I got to ask you, because I actually never had the chance to ask you about this. When you were in the room when he did, because I know you were
like a baby.
You were. I bet you were. I bet that, because that
like
got to me. The Imperial March got to me too. Kenobi theme got to me. What really got to me in that room too was when they did Duel of the Fates. That 30-piece choir. That, and this is funny because you said subconsciously earlier when you take it in. I mean, of course, I grew up loving the prequels, and I had the opportunity to own all the CDs at one point because it was just accessible. I had a CD player. So I know when you were growing up, it was tapes and records, right?
I had records. No, I did. I had a Fisher-Price record player, and I had 33s. I had some of the 45s. I had the storybook.
There we go.
Yeah, the storybook ones that had, you know, when R2-D2 beeps, you turn the page and they played the score in the backgrounds of those and all that kind of stuff.
But that's the kind of thing that could allow you to be in your room and allow you to imagine and act like you're Anakin or Luke or whatever. But the thing is, I was lucky enough to grow up in a time where when I played Star Wars Bounty Hunter or Star Wars Battlefront 2 as a kid, all that music would be subconsciously in the back of my brain when I played these games, being these characters. So it's a weird thing. We have very similar stories in the sense of what it means to us, but we both digested them and took them in different ways. It's so weird. And that's truly the power of music. And it's so funny. I want to bring up something my grandma told me once, and she watched A New Hope in theaters. My Uncle Martin loved it. loved it. It was his favorite movie. He saw it over that summer like 17 times because they live right next to a theater. And I think she went a couple of times with him. And she looked at me, and this is like, about a year ago. She goes, "Is the music still good for all these Star Wars stuff?" Because she knew new stuff was coming out. And I'm like, "Yeah, it is." And she goes, "I'll just never forget sitting in that theater and just being blown away by A New Hope's music." And I'm like, that's just, she's 83. Like that was a blip in her life. It wasn't her whole life like us, but like someone that can still, in an old age, post-stroke, like still has a love for that music. And I'm like, there's something to that. I mean, like the Cantina, anything for that movie.
And I think there's an element to that of, and I heard this mentioned on somebody else's show in a different context earlier this week, cultural memory. We have a pop cultural memory where even if you're a grandmother or my mother or somebody who didn't watch Star Wars, if you hear the Star Wars fanfare, that's the Star Wars song. The Imperial March, you may not be able to name it the Imperial March, but you're going to say that's a Star Wars song because you and I know this. We live in SEC football country. And when the defense comes back out onto the field, every college marching band in the state plays the Imperial March because, here comes the defense and we're going to get a stop. The pop cultural memory that is tied to things like the music, I would say the Cantina Band song is right up there. I think the main theme, Imperial March, Cantina Band theme, as far as like that pop cultural memory, those are the three that definitely connect. I would almost posit, and it's interesting you talking about the prequels, is that was a different time for me. I was halfway through college. We talk about this all the time. For me, that was kind of another like reawakening to the music because I had that big gap from my childhood. Of course, I still watched the movies over the years. But when the prequels came, when Phantom Menace came, honestly, Duel of the Fates was on TRL on MTV. And they ran that video and it ended up in the top 10. I wish I had looked up the stats for what it was and what it did.
It was like 10 weeks. It was something crazy. It
was a multiple period of time. And I was in college and I'd be doing I'd study or be doing whatever it was in my room. And I'd have TRL on because I was waiting for that. And I was going, this is rad. And of course you get
because
the trailer.
There was a behind the scenes like video with it too, where it showed them making the songs with shots from the movie. It's just, there is something to that song. Yes. And we'll get into that in a second, but like, you've got to, it's almost hard to admit, like, for anyone we would consider a normie. And I know we've talked about it before, when there's like something that's a normie, they kind of take in Star Wars in a different way. Right. And, I'm happy just to say, like, most normies, when they watch Star Wars, they leave with the music. They understand the music. And Williams says it perfectly right here. This is beautiful. There are very few movies that you can associate with music to the title of a movie. Star Wars is one. Jaws, Harry Potter are definitely. And I 1,000% agree. Even Harry Potter. And you know what's funny? Yes, as time goes on. Oh, that's amazing. As time goes on, we've got pop music that has bled into the cultural zeitgeist. Like one of them that I'm teaching Katie on guitar right now. It's Seven Nation Army. Do you hear that at like, in Europe?
Again, college football games.
Yeah, college. You hear it all across the world. And then like, it's so weird.
Sports ball.
Because Jack White says he recorded it. It was just like, let's get it recorded and get it over with. It's not going to be a hit. And it literally is as big as, and I know, I think Conan O'Brien. Yeah, Cody O'Brien said on this show, it's big as, Yankee Doodle Dandy. Like, it's just so integral. Yep. It's like Old MacDonald Had a Farm. It's huge. But that's the beauty of Star Wars and being able to make music for a Star Wars show, because unfortunately, you're held to the highest standard of all time. You're held to John Williams. Like you're not, if you're pressured to do a Star Wars, even John Williams feels the pressure of John Williams. Like when he came back and he did The Force Awakens, he was like, I wanted Rey's theme to be perfect. And when I was in that theater, Nick, I want to hear your story on this. When I was in that theater and I was like, okay, so far I'm enjoying this movie. But when it showed her, take off the mask and go down the dune, your instantly became iconic. Did you feel that same way?
I did, and it was one of those. I had read the articles where he talked about that, and so for me, and I don't know if this is the dad in me, even though obviously he could easily be my grandfather. It was the pride. It was the pride thing of going. he nailed it. He got, as a creative, you're a creative person. I'm a creative person. We spend a lot of time critiquing the things we do, asking our friends that we trust, hey, is this thing I'm doing crap or not? I need to know. I have this idea for a bit. It may not be good, whatever it is. That after reading that article and knowing that, when it hit, I just went, this is perfect. Like it was it told me what I needed to know about Rey meeting her for the first time in those moments.
Ding, 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 ding. I'm like, it
was positive, but it was pensive at the same time. Like it truly did. It was measured. And that was something, she was somebody who was reserved. She was careful. Those notes were careful. It wasn't a full-blown orchestra. It was simple and to the point. It was somebody, it was very genuine. And that's what we get with Rey very early on.
And it's funny because Eric Conham and I talked about this a few weeks ago. We were watching, and I'll bring up this person again later, David Wise, who made all of the Donkey Kong Country music and a bunch of other video game music. Eric's like, is he even playing notes? Because like he's so good that like obviously you can transpose it to a guitar or whatever, but like there's things like ding 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 ding. I'm like, that is just so transcendent. It's just so perfect, Or Kylo Ren's theme, dun 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 dun.
Yes,
like
again, communicate,
iconic.
Yeah, and that's what I think is so powerful, and I think maybe a gift that John Williams has that not a lot of other composers, and we're going to talk about a bunch of composers here in a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I think maybe more than, and I've studied Williams the most. I'm familiar with a bunch of others. Of course, there's a bunch of other iconic composers. I do think that Williams is the number one, and I would posit that there's nobody better than him at writing a theme that communicates the character or the core of the movie, and that's what makes those things so iconic. If you look at E.T., the flying theme in E.T., you could listen to that and be like, this is somebody flying. The hook theme. If you look at Jurassic Park, the Jurassic Park theme is one of my favorite themes of all the stuff he's done. Like it just every time that helicopter, I can see that scene. The helicopter's coming down through the thing. It's landing. It swells when they're driving in the Jeep. Superman, TW's got it exactly right there. The Superman theme, that's another key childhood memory. Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. Oh my
God. Okay. Yeah. And those times when I was a kid where I couldn't figure out, is it Superman or is it Indiana Jones?
Well, wait. And it's funny too. Now to kind of play into the, modern day era. And I know Nick can attest to this because we both love Marvel, but when they do the dun, 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 rum, dun, 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 boom, dun, 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 dun. And I know me seeing it doesn't really add anything to it, but it's part of it, right? Like nothing gets me more excited. And it's been a couple of movies where we haven't had that sensation because it's been cold opens for a lot of them, and that is the one that always sets me off. They did it with a guitar for Thor and Love and Thunder.
Yes, it's a huge part of it. It's a huge part of it, and just to give another indication of that and the intergenerational nature of it, I've talked about before, we've got the Mom CU podcast that we do where me and my 4 girls are watching all the Marvel movies in timeline order with my wife who doesn't know anything about Marvel. We finished Endgame Monday night. I've got to get that episode out, but we finished Endgame. So we're up to, basically we told her that we would do Far From Home and No Way Home because she loves Spider-Man, and I think that's when we're going to cut it off. Maybe Love and Thunder when it's available, but that's been the thing. Go ahead.
Wild emotions. Was there any wild emotions during that one?
It was really interesting. It's one of our shorter episodes, which I expected it to be, because when it was over, she was like, I just don't have anything to say. I loved it. It was so good. Like she didn't, it was a little bit late, but it was also interesting because Infinity War and Endgame both, she was like, if all of them were like this, she was like, I would have loved this entire process. She said, as a result, there are some along the way that she loved. She loved Black Widow. She loved, Guardians and Thor. But then like Civil War, which is one of my favorites, she's like, I don't care. Like it didn't do it for her. Ultron didn't do it for her. Like, everybody has different tastes, things they liked. Sure. But Infinity War and Endgame, she was like, these are the two, like may end up being 2 of her 4 favorites when we do the Mount Rushmore. But it was so good for her that by the time it was over, she's like, I don't have anything to say. I just loved it. She's like, if it wasn't late, I'd start it and watch it again right now. But with my kids, and this was kind of my original point when you were talking about Marvel, with my kids who are all Marvel obsessed, when that theme starts at the beginning of every movie, they lose their mind. They've seen it 22
Do they cry?
times. They're just
Do
excited.
they cry?
They're like, cheering.
I cry.
No, just cheering.
I cry a little bit. And I
but
get
when
it.
we went and saw,
part of it,
I would say when we went and saw Love and Thunder and it played on guitar, they did lose their mind over that.
So cool. So good. And you know, it's funny. It's like every generation's going to have their thing. You know, we were privileged enough to have Star Wars, and of course they did too, to a certain extent. But like that is Marvel is this generation's literal thing. You know, I've got kids that I teach that love Marvel movies, and it makes my day because I'm like, that legacy is still getting passed on. You know, maybe they'll start a Marvel podcast one day, and it all does come down to the music, right? It comes down to what it brings out in you, and there's certain things that people like, and I kind of want to tie into this. One show that kind of had to grow on me, Star Wars related, was Clone Wars and Rebels. Love the music, you know, now, but that very first Clone Wars movie, if anyone remembers, there's a lot of guitar parts, very different. It was the first time we'd ever gotten Star Wars besides droids and Ewoks and the Ewoks movies that were, you know, not strictly orchestral pieces. Right. And like, I'll never forget watching the all-terrain things walk across the top of the mountain, and it's like a guitar part over, and I'm like, this is so weird, like this is breaking my brain. But now people are very fond of that scene, and of course, like Ahsoka's theme is iconic now in Rebels and Clone Wars. Like, it took a minute, y'all. It took a minute, and I think the show.
That's an interesting thing, talking about the animation, and like I said, I talk all the time about Clone Wars. I didn't watch Clone Wars initially. I came back to Clone Wars because of Rebels. It just didn't hit me at the right time, whatever it was. But the music in the animated shows, more in Rebels, because Rebels, you know, they hit on some key, you know, Leia shows up, you know, you get some stuff, and that's cool. But at the same time, I didn't notice a lot of the music in the times that I watched Clone Wars until Clone Wars season 7. They stepped up their game. Bad Batch, the music stepped up its game. And all of a sudden I caught myself like going and Googling the Kiner brothers and going, I need to know more about these guys. I need to know what else have they done? Why have I not noticed this before? And I think part of that is just like all of us, they get better as they go along. And it, you know, and I was looking for it probably more than I would have in the past. But those later seasons of Clone Wars, certainly in Bad Batch, like the music was clutch. I will agree with you in Kenobi, the Natalie Holt score. It's cool, but it was not, it didn't stand out. Same for Book of Boba Fett. And that wasn't her. But then Mando becomes a different thing, and I know we're going to talk about that in a little bit too.
I was going to bring in Solo and Rogue One because Giacchino maybe had the hardest, you know, hardest punch to have to pull through with, because Giacchino had to do a new Star Wars movie with characters we weren't familiar with, but kind of implementing a song, you know what I mean? Like implementing a feeling that we never had to experience, a feeling of hope in all of these songs that he wrote. And like, I like Giacchino. I mean, he's done a ton. I mean, he's done an unreal amount of movies. He did the Batman. He's done Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Like, he has gone on and done so many movies. And he is, I think, considering, you know, I guess legacy, he's the next John Williams. He may not be as iconic in terms of his themes, but in terms of his success, yes, I agree. But all that being said, John Powell too, which I think he made the more standout score with Solo.
I was going to say that was a bigger one for me, because even as you're talking about Giacchino and the Rogue One score, like honestly for me, I don't know that I could put my finger on a Rogue One score moment. Other than, and I don't even know if this is score as much as it is a sound sting, is that opening sting when the movie starts. And it's just that, like, again, just that strike, the note that hits. That's a terrible way to describe it. But, you know, I know, I know that that's something that is key. But the John Powell one, that solo score, Persistence Memory is one of my favorite things to boot up when I want to get a little bit pumped about something.
Literally.
That's a good pump up track.
Mine is the Marauders arrive. I'm like, this is a kids choir. Like, this is so different for Star Wars. And they show up. I'm like, this is crazy because it's kind of prequel-y too. You know, it's kind of got these like horns that move fast. And yeah, man, that Solo score is insane. Or one of the best parts in Solo is when he sees the Falcon for the first time, and they do. Is it the main theme? I'm gonna pull it up. Or there's gonna be the first one we listen to. Be the first one we listen to here. So it's called Solo, a Star Wars story score. And it's when he finds the Falcon. Now, I don't want to watch the scene because I don't want to get in trouble. L3 and the Millennium Falcon. This is it right here. Now, for those watching at home live, we may get booted off the internet again. Nick is really good at doing that to us. But this, I'm going to be honest with y'all, this is I am the reason this is going to happen this time.
That's right. I didn't do it this time.
He didn't do it. He was not. This is all me. So let's see. I'm going to find that moment. It's such a good moment. Hold on. It's right here. Can you hear it, y'all?
Yeah.
God, so good. When they pair that music with that scene, sobbing because he sees the Falcon for the first time. It means so much to us as viewers and to Han as a character. And I never thought I'd hear the Star Wars theme slowed down so much. Like every note drags. God, that's a cool score, man. That's so a great score. Yes.
That's just, like I said, it stood out. Yeah, Brian's right. Star Wars theme from the Falcon's theme all along. I love this. I think there you go. When I went to Galaxy's Edge for the first time, I had his score queued up to that moment when Han sees the Falcon for when he saw the Falcon.
Oh my God, Brian, I thought you were
so clutch,
dying.
so good.
Jesus,
yes, that soundtrack is one that's key. And I talk a lot about my oldest daughter, Harper. She's my Star Wars kid. It's one, and she's one of those ones that like she can pick the music out. Like if I just turn on something, she's like, "Oh, this is such and such." Like she knows the track, she knows the names because she's a kid, and she's playing it over and over again, watching it, listening to it. And so, especially the Solo soundtrack, that's been a big one for her over these years of being a Star Wars fan and just keying into those tracks.
And it's funny because like when you hear that, it could be John Williams, and obviously they use a John Williams theme in that moment to kind of to make that punch hit more. But like to have the balls to adapt it is one thing too. Like it takes guts to like, I'm going to adapt this in a different way. And it's so well done. Yeah. It's that John Powell.
It takes balls to say yes to doing music in a Star Wars end of sentence. Like if you're not named John Williams and you get asked that question, if you say yes, you deserve, I mean, you've got onions, no doubt.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And you know what? The next one I want to bring up is more of the one weirder ones. And I know we had talked about it beforehand and how would we go about bringing this in, but it was weird, right? I was at the Celebration panel in 2019 when they premiered like the first like 6 minutes of The Mandalorian. Not really the first, but like from when he meets when he meets Werner Herzog until he walks into it was from when he walked into the
bar
room
at the beginning, right?
Yeah, it was the bar and then Werner Herzog's. Yep. So we saw all of that. And I don't remember the music. I don't even know if there was music at that point that was like it's music. And I don't know if they wanted to reveal it. I think it was all just noise at that point. But that evening when Disney Plus came out, there were 3 big things. Wow, The Mandalorian is a badass. Okay. Not what I expected to be. Grogu, what is this Baby Yoda thing? I have no idea. And the music was like the talking points, right? And
This one.
For me, instantly it worked because I'm like, this is different. Same. This is unique. Now, as the season went on, I'm like, oh my God, this is so different, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And as the show has progressed since, it is drastically different. Even the Boba Fett show as well. But when you watch that, Nick, for that first time on Disney Plus, what was it, November 8th or something? November, whatever. What was that like for you? Because you grew up in a different era. You know, you grew up in a different time.
I say this about the music in The Mandalorian. The opening theme, I was on board from the beginning. There was something about that opening theme that just hit. It still hits. And my favorite video to watch just on a random, you know, when I need a serotonin boost, when I need a whatever, is the one where what's his name?
Ludwig
Göransson. When he's talking about how he did it and he breaks down all the parts and he pulls out the recorders and the drum and the guitar and the piano and he's playing it. And he's like, and then I decided, like, again, just like Light and Magic, that's the deconstruction that feeds my soul. That's that part of me that goes, like, you know, I just ordered a bunch of weird recorders off Amazon because I have elementary school kids and they all bring home recorders every year from music class. And I'm going, it's one of those, but it's like 9 feet long. And this is the guy, his job is to sit in a room and go, this could work for Star Wars. Let's try out a bunch of recorders from Amazon. Like, I'm here for it. So, opening theme, I was on board from the very beginning. I will say that initially in the show, the overall score was kind of a nothing burger for me at the beginning. But the more I sat with it, sort of like the first time I saw The Last Jedi versus the second, third, and fourth times I saw The Last Jedi.
Exactly.
It just grabbed me. Like the music in that show, I've been dancing around a rewatch of all of Mandalorian for several weeks now, and it's closer than it is far away. But one of the things that gets me excited to do that is to pay more attention to the music throughout. Because, and again, it's one of the ones like the Game of Thrones theme, the West Wing theme. Like there are certain themes. I'm not skipping this. When that skip button pops up, you can fuck on off. Like I'm not doing that. I'm watching
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. Same thing.
He's like, can we skip the intro? I'm like, no, this sets the tone for the whole.
My kids, we're watching The Office right now, and if I push the skip button on the Office theme, they go,
you
nuts.
Can't.
They're like,
it's
you gotta be
classic.
kidding me. Yeah, I'm over that.
Simpsons too.
But Mandalorian theme, that's one of those ones that has to go. It's so good. And the more, like I said, the more I paid attention to it, the more the show went on, the soundtrack as a whole, the score as a whole really did become something that I went, this is another thing that makes this show so great and is the best, in my opinion, of the Disney shows we've got so far.
I was about to say it's like it's unstoppable in like terms of like iconic. There's Gerry. Hey Gerry. Don't listen to the beginning of the show. So I want to play just a brief segment of obviously the main Mandalorian theme. Because it totally set the tone for everything.
Yep.
And let me get it pulled up. And this is the one that had the build up to it. I just love even when the credits roll. Dum-dum. Holy
I was just
cow,
about to say,
it's so hard.
As I was listening to this and getting excited just to hear it now.
Yeah.
You can't beat a build up. You can't beat a crescendo. You can't beat a moment when it hits and drops and you're just like, let's get like, I could headbang to this. Like,
me too.
And it's rolling, like, it's pump up music.
It's when that dum 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 cool.
And as a musician, you're a musician, I'm a musician. I start listening to the bass line. Yep.
It's the
drive, the driving drum behind it. Just
and
everything
the
about it.
It's like, as a musician, and like you just spoke to, you can almost listen to the song and break it down because it like he did in that video. It's a great video too. But like you can almost go, I could make that. And then I've done this before so many times where I sit behind a keyboard, like Katie goes and hangs out with some friends. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to write a song tonight. And I go to do it and I'm like,
not a chance.
Point?
There's just no way. Like, what are
There's
these?
Just no way.
Foreign language?
Like, listen to this. It's so damn good. And dude, the fact that it has the orchestral aspect to it too, because an orchestra could play this. Oh my god.
And it's so, the way it hits, like especially at the end of the show,
yes,
you've got the credits rolling and you've got the concept art, like talk about a perfect coming together of stuff.
It's perfect. And the part that sets me off too is this part right here. And then, oh, this is the part that makes me tear up. And then it soars, baby.
Here it comes.
It soars right here.
Every time.
Oh,
every time.
I can't stop listening to this one. I'll be in the car, and I'm just like, I gotta put it on now. But you know what's funny? There's a part in this song that actually makes me cry, and it's when like the lullaby part of it comes in, because you know that's Grogu. Like you know it's about their journey, and without even addressing that it's Grogu, it's the I'm gonna see if I can find it. Oh, it's that calm. Because everything gets taken out at one point, and it's just that.
Yep. Well, and I love that when he's got, and he talks about it in the video, when he's got that guitar on there, he's got some dirt on that guitar. He's got some distortion turned up.
Yes.
He's got an edge to it. It's not clean, full-on classical studio music. It's a different thing, and it just works.
But it's funny too. It's like Favreau could have easily been like, nah.
Yeah.
Like
Star Wars, we got to
truly.
Yeah.
I mean, but this is how Star Wars innovates, right? You know, and it's something that you and I've talked about before. Like the prequels was the innovator for digital technology, and it's evident now. And I'm sure ILM's Light and Magic show gets into it. You know, the A New Hope was absolutely instrumental in changing blockbuster films forever. And then you've got a show like The Mandalorian, which has changed TV forever. And this song is just like, it's the perfect package. I mean, you got story, technology, and music. It's like you truly couldn't get better. And I mean that, like truly, like Ludwig has a different tonal approach than John Williams. And it's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be that way.
But at the same time, you can see those threads when you have things like the driving rhythm beats behind it. That's a big part of Williams' music. Williams has got a lot of strings. Williams has got a lot of like more that airy, again, Flying for E.T., Jurassic Park. But that man knows how to use some drums. You get, a snare going in the Saving Private Ryan soundtrack, which of course is going to be indicative of military.
Unreal.
You're going to get drums in the Indiana Jones stuff. That to me is the tie-in to where you get those threads and themes of John Williams in the Ludwig Göransson stuff. And let's say this too about Ludwig Göransson. He's no slouch, because what else did he do? He did the music for Black Panther.
Yeah.
That was a Marvel movie that also stepped outside the box. It wasn't big hero themes. This is tribal music. This is something speaking to the African culture. This is music, and of course, you've got hip hop, you've got tribal music, you've got something that's not a traditional movie score. And it's my favorite Marvel soundtrack is the Black Panther soundtrack. And then you have the other funny things, like he did the music for the TV show New Girl. He worked on the Childish Gambino video. Like there's so many funny little crossovers, but then you find a thing and you hit it and you get to hammer away at like, this is something that I'm good at. Yeah.
It's precious, right? And like, it's so funny. This is one of the songs too that
Community.
It
That's
so
another
well
good one.
for
He did
me.
Community.
Oh, a fantastic score. Like with this one though, and I'll never forget where I was when I watched the finale where Luke showed up and saved Grogu. Obviously, that's not a spoiler in any way now at this point. At least I hope not. But when you listen to it, I was fully expecting the Force theme the entire time,
Right.
you know, when he goes in the hallway, and they didn't give us that. And look, I'm gonna be real with y'all. To me, that didn't work in Kenobi because Kenobi has been Duel of the Fates. You know, it's him and Anakin's relationship. It's been Battle of the Heroes. But like the Force theme hasn't always just been Luke's theme. It's been used in a ton of Star Wars now. And you would think this would be the time they like totally just play it in our ears. Give us the Force theme right here. But when he obviously is going in the hallway tearing up those Dark Troopers, wasn't the case.
Yep.
Let's see.
Yep.
God, this is wild. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is when Grogu and Luke. Oh no, this is it. Never mind.
Yeah, this is it. Because it
this
builds.
The elevator door opens.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. T.W. McKay, unbelievable. Yeah, Hawkboy. Jerry's not here right now. That's Nick. Sorry.
That's right. Better luck next week.
He's just slicing and dicing. I think the elevator was had open at this point. The choral too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like beautiful. He's just like slicing down. What's that? I saw you wanted to say something. I could tell.
No. I was listening.
Okay.
I was waiting for that beat to drop.
The beat's incredible.
But it does make me think about this is that music and talking about driving the emotion of a show, of a movie, listening to this music. And I remember it too. Like you said, I remember where I was watching it the first time, watching that finale, watching Luke show up. That's that music that as it's going on, I find myself scooting closer to the edge of my seat because of the way it's building. And by the time it hits, I'm like this, and I'm hunkered down, and I'm usually actually by this point it's like football season, and I'm standing up, and I've got my arms crossed. I'm standing up with my arms crossed because I don't know where else to go, and so it becomes it drives you and it propels you, and I think that's the power in music. Period. We sat out on the beach, like I said last weekend. You and I got to sit on the beach together. I was there for 3 days, 4 days with my family, and we listened to music the whole time. We listened to music at home all the time, and all my kids wanted to listen to, and I'm so thankful for this, with 2 14-year-olds, a 10-year-old, and a 6-year-old, we turned on the Amazon 80s rock channel, and we just put it on shuffle and let it roll. And so we're listening to Guns N' Roses, we're listening to all the stuff.
Def Leppard.
But there are those, but there's those moments when music drives you, and that's why we have music for pump up at sports and walk up at a bat when you go up to bat. When I had to go. I had to go test for a commercial driver's license today. I had to do the driving test and the whole like official test to get my CDL. And on my drive out there, I put on the Kenobi soundtrack, and I put on that first main Kenobi theme because I just wanted something. I mean, honestly, the driving part I wasn't worried about. It was the inspection at the beginning, all the engine parts, all the different things. You know, it's so technical. You have to remember all the stuff. And I could feel myself getting in my head, and I went, I just need to calm down. And so I put on that, Natalie Holt score, partially thinking about tonight's show, but also going, I just need something low key. I need something calm. I need something to help calm that nerve. And music does that. But on the same token, that music can turn right around and get you jacked out of your mind to go crush whatever it is you're going to do. And music like this, and like you said, in this score and with that Luke hallway scene, by the time it crescendoed, I was standing up. I was ready for the rest of it, and then I couldn't sit down.
It was unreal, right? And I want to speak to that too, Nick. One of the things I used to do, and I've done it before recently, whenever I have like a big like certification test I have to take as a teacher, the Praxis, which is not an easy test because it requires you to memorize like pretty much all your content for that particular subject. And that's it. Like you don't know if you'll get questions on it or whatnot. I will listen to Cherub Rock by the Smashing Pumpkins and just like, just like I have to get that energy out because I know before I had that moment, like when you took that test today, like you kind of have to find a way to focus that either jitters or focus that anxiety you get, right? And it's so funny. We've all been, very lucky. We're both musically gifted. Some people don't have that ability, which is right. I would say I almost envy them in a weird way too, because like sometimes you get so caught up in music, you could almost not even focus on whatever you're supposed to be focusing on. So this kind of
let me ask you this about music. I'm sorry. Let me ask you this about music, and I want you to come back to that. As a musician, and as somebody who grew up with Star Wars, and certainly with the the prequels, Episode 1 music, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Did the music of Star Wars have an influence on you becoming a musician?
Well, this is really funny. My buddy Chase in 8th grade, and you may have met Chase at Celebration. I think it was a Sunday. So okay. So I call him Roach. Roach and I go way back. We became best friends in 4th grade, and it's like been inseparable since. And he asked me one time, and I'll never forget. He goes, "If you could see Velvet Revolver or John Williams, who would you choose?" And I was like, John Williams. And then literally, so funny. Him and I had seen Scott Weiland. We had seen Temple Pilot. So like we already got that treatment. But here we are at Celebration, and Chase was coming the next 2 days after that. And we got a free John Williams concert. And I would have never thought in my days I would get to experience that. And that was truly a bucket list moment. And yes, I would say he influenced me, but it wasn't because I wanted to pick up a violin or a trumpet or a timpani. It was nothing like that. It was just I caught myself as a kid humming, like it's there's something to that, or even something like Duel of the Fates. I mean, not Duel of the Fates. Okay, here we go. Battle of the Heroes. And then and I'll say this, it might be my hottest take. I think the Phantom Menace has the best music because it was this man having to reinvent himself again. And there's something to that. There's something when an artist, and we'll get into that in just a moment, actually, when an artist has to reinvent themselves. And I think Ludwig was one of those people. Like, he never played with a recorder before. He had grown up playing it, but he never professionally played one. Most musicians stick to what they professionally play, and that's what they're comfortable with. You've got people like Prince who can do every instrument almost flawlessly, know? And then you've got musicians like I can see one, David Wise. He's one of the ones that he primarily plays saxophone when he records music. But he can play drums. He understands theory. And there's other people like Danny Elfman, who is the guitarist and singer for Oingo Boingo. And he's still, and if you look, I don't have the thumb. Actually, I can upload the thumb right here. He's an interesting cat, man. He's an interesting dude.
Well, and when you talk about the multi-tool players, the people who, for me as a musician, one of my heroes is Dave Grohl. And the first Foo Fighters album, Dave Grohl did everything. Like, the band was still being built. We're talking post Nirvana, post Kurt Cobain.
Yep.
He played the drums, he played the bass, he played the guitars, he sang, he put it together. And then when he was like, okay, this could go somewhere, he had to get somebody else in there so that he could go tour it and do the rest. And he ends up with Taylor. He ends up with, everybody else. And again, like, I feel like I don't get starstruck. I feel like I'm not like crazy, celebrity, whatever. I would give a lot to spend a day hanging out with Dave Grohl. Like, he's truly, I think, one of our great modern musicians. So talented. And even to not be a classical musician, and it's not on my list, and we'll talk about it later, but like, I'd love for him to have input on some sort of like a show. Like, if he got connected up in some, what would he do? Again, use the Ludwig example. Ludwig did the music for New Girl and Community. Like, these are this isn't Mandalorian. It's not the same.
No.
Hey, who's that girl? It's Jess. Like, it's a whole different thing. But talking about exactly what you're saying, reinventing yourself, pushing yourself. I think you're exactly right. The key to John Williams, the last Star Wars he did was in 1983. Now, of course, he continued to do a bunch of other things. More Indiana Jones. Last Crusade was 89.
E.T.
Jurassic Park was in the early 90s. E.T. was
that was 84, wasn't it?
Was it 82? I was going to say 82, 84. So in that Google. Similar zone. But as you continue to go forward, Saving Private Ryan was in the late 90s. Like, he did that. he continued to work. But when you come back to Star Wars music is not Saving Private Ryan music, is not Jurassic Park music. So you're right. He did have to not only find it again, but find what does it sound like now. X number of years before the original trilogy, but also 20 years later in real world. Like he's balancing there's a weird balancing act there. So
it's funny. You're right. It was 82 for ET as well. But like John Williams, even in 1983 or 82, I guess for Return of the Jedi, he even got Joseph Williams to do a couple of songs like Yub Nub. That was all Joseph Williams. And people forget Yub Nub because it had been erased from, you know, whatever you would say. It's no longer a part of that cut of the movie that you would watch. And like Yub Nub, because I had the VHS growing up of that original VHS, was my favorite song when it came on. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is so wacky and zany. And you know, it's funny whenever you take someone like John Williams and having to reinvent themselves, and then you take other people. Like we got a huge list right here. Like Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, one of the weirdest ones. He not only made, you know, like Closer by 9 Inches, one of the creepiest, like just an eerie driving song, but he also did the music for Pixar's Soul. Like that's just like a jazz album essentially. Like it's just strange. Like you have to, as a person, as a creative person, as a podcaster, there is nothing wrong with reinventing what and how you want to approach something. Nothing wrong with it at all.
Not at all.
And I think it's very important to do that. And Star Wars has began to do that. It's not quite there. But it has began. That is amazing. Yep, that's right. And like, it's funny, you know, you take a show like The Mandalorian, and it just completely blew all my preconceived notions of what Star Wars music could sound like. And we have a list. Now I don't know if you mind, Nick, because I don't exactly know who is on your list. I want to give mine, then you can give one of yours.
Go for it.
And we're not going to do
honestly.
This.
Go ahead.
I was going to say we could do this. I was going to pull up a song for a couple of people. You know, for like David Wise is one of my favorite video game composers of all time. And for those that don't know,
I have a couple deck as well. So you do your thing, then we'll do my thing.
Okay,
and because I saw your list ahead of time, what I have on mine, like I don't disagree with some of yours, but I have, I think all the ones I have are none of the ones that are on your list. I'm pretty sure. So we've got a good mix
works out.
Yeah, to hit it out. So hit yours and we'll hit mine after.
There's some predictable ones. I'll give you one of my favorite ones. David Wise. Okay, for those that do not know, David Wise did all the music for Donkey Kong Country series, all of those. He did the music for Battletoads. He did the music for some of the Star Fox games, and he did. I did a bunch of music for the Rare games, which are the games that was made by the company Rare in the 90s. And obviously, Nick grew up with the Super Nintendo era of sound, right? And I think a lot of us can attest to the music on the Sega Genesis was fine. It was pretty good, but like when Nintendo had put their hands on a project, the guy that makes all the Mario music or David Wise, like this David Wise dude, okay, for those that haven't had a chance to deep dive the Donkey Kong Country music, maybe the most ambient and most, I don't know, I'm so attached to this music for some reason. I played it at the beach on my family beach trip. I'm not even kidding. This is not a joke, but people were mad about it, and it works. So you can hear the opening fanfare, then I'll go to one of the more atmospheric songs. But like, it's, I think, in terms of Star Wars, I think he could do something with it. I'll tell you my reasons why. Does this bring back memories, Nick?
I mean,
here's the drums. Best. Talked about it.
Troy's chiming in. Right, every day at the beach.
That's right. God, listen to that. Oh yeah. But listen to the syncopation, how it flows, and then there's a drop, which is so good. It's gonna come up in a second. Okay, that's just one example. But there's something to that, right? There's something different. Sure. There's something very peculiar. And there's one song that I think most people kind of leave remembering. And like a lot of it does have to do with the atmosphere. A lot of it has to do with, you know, what you maybe grew up with nostalgic wise. And there may be a couple of people in here that are like, well, that would never work for Star Wars, which is fair. But like picture an Ewok running through the forest and hearing that song. You'd be like, that's freaking cool, right? You know, it doesn't have to be the exact melody. It doesn't have to be the exact, you know, structure or rhythm, but you can hear that and you can let your brain wander on the ideas and the possibilities that could be a Star Wars song, you know, that like we said earlier, that preconceived notion of what Star Wars music can be has been lifted. It's been changed. And this next song right here is one of the most ambient songs. I used to play it in college to go to sleep to. Okay. And it was, I would just listen to this song, and I mean it. And I remember this is the water level when you're riding the little what's it called? The swordfish. There's something to this. Now, I won't play much more of it, but to me personally, you know, and it might be my attachment to the song, but when you hear something like that, Nick, what kind of comes to mind for you? You've played the game, you know, but like for you personally, where could that fit in a Star Wars? I think that's Camino. Like I picture Camino. I picture kind of like a swampy, scary area, you know?
I'll throw a different one at you. And of course we don't know anything about this show yet. We don't know other than the basic premise. Skeleton Crew. It's about kids on an adventure. It's moving. I mean, moving forward. It's, you know, it's music that drives you on. It's got a beat that it belies adventure. It belies, you know, this idea of forward progress. So I would plug it into something like Skeleton Crew, where you've got plucky young kids, Goonies style, like, you know, it's adventurous, it's jungle, it's desert, it's whatever it is. I think that could totally work in something like that, given the very limited knowledge that we have of what that show is.
Sure. But it's funny too. And I'll bring in one other composer just into this and not really dive on them. Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein are the two pair that have made all the music for Stranger Things. And like, you know, Skeleton Crew, I think is promised to be like Stranger Things in space. Like, I think that's kind of where they're going to go with it.
I think that press release we initially got said, or at Celebration when they talked about it, and they announced it at the live action panel, I think they said it's a Goonies, it's a Star Wars version of Goonies. It's a, you know, not necessarily Goonies, but which is also Stranger Things. It's kids, it's a young kids adventure.
Exactly. But the show itself works on so many levels, Stranger Things. But to me, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago with Jerry, and you, I think, had listened to some point of it. The music of that show is perfect. Like it really atmospheric. It's eerie, but sometimes it's really playful and full of heart. And like, you know, not many people have had the opportunity to really dive into synthetic compositions like that, because it's all synth. I mean, there's barely an orchestra ever in Stranger Things. And, you know, it works so well for me on a deep level that if I had to hear that in a Star Wars, I think hearing a synth entire soundtrack could work. Like,
for sure.
It's not impossible.
Well, and it plays, and again, you have to, shows and movies are going to be different things.
Yeah.
I think in shows, you have the opportunity, like Mandalorian. I love what they do in Mandalorian with the directors. They change it up. You've got Rick Famuyiwa. You've got Bryce Dallas Howard. You've got Boba Fett.
Deborah Chow. Oh no, I know you're talking about.
But
Robert
Deborah Chow. Robert
yeah.
Rodriguez. Like, you've got all the change it up. You have the ability in a show like Mandalorian, and I haven't gone back to look at everything besides Ludwig, but like, I think about the prisoner ship episode in season 1. One of my favorite episodes in season 1 because of how much it changed it up. I think that's Rick Famuyiwa that did that one.
Yep, it is.
That red lighting, when the lights go down and it has that horror-esque vibe, and it's like Mando pops out here, pops back in the hallway, and then he's 3 spaces up right here. Like the jump, that's where I feel that techno vibe. That's where I feel that synth vibe, where I feel that like it's building the tension. You can build tension with a violin. You can build tension with a French horn or a tuba, something deep, something scary. You can build hella tension with a synth. You can build hella tension with something else. And I think that feeds into storytelling. And it's almost like, what if going forward in a post John Williams era, the storytelling dictates who the musician is, as opposed to just plugging somebody in? What's the vibe we want this episode or this movie to give? High Republic? High Republic's a different thing. And I have an idea for High Republic, and we'll get to it with some of mine. But yeah, I think that something like a synth vibe, an artificial music vibe, if you will, fits the scarier version of that, fits the lighter version of that. I think there's a lot of play in there.
I agree. And you know what's funny? Imagine this, because you made my brain go here. If instead of they change directors, they change composers for each episode of a show, I mean, that'd be freaking cool, right? I mean, that would be amazing. It would be amazing because you can see different people's perspectives. So that one, I want to lead on to this. What is one of your choices? What is one of the ones you consider? Because we have different tastes musically. Everyone does.
Oh, for sure.
But you're going to hear one of yours.
Okay. This isn't the wildest one. This is my High Republic choice. If you were going to do, whether it be Acolyte, we'll use Acolyte as an example. We know that's coming. Yeah. That's a show. It's set 100 years before the prequel trilogy, end of the High Republic era, that kind of thing. For me, and let me get a little share going on. Not that you're not going to know this music, but it just helps.
Yes, Brian.
That's what we're doing
to answer this. It is, yes, Brian. They were all different. Oh, yes.
Ramin Djawadi did the Game of Thrones music. And I believe that in this, and I've kind of got it, I think, queued up somehow. We're talking about that plotting, high, noble. That's what the High Republic is supposed to be, right? It's the peak of the Jedi, but with the undertone of a downfall. The undertone of the end is coming. And you get that in the Game of Thrones soundtrack. You get that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if we come back, you know, where it hits that peak. And then I love when that credits hit and that harpsichord plays. Like, to me, that's a great... That's a huge one for me. So
it's
one
beautiful.
Of my first other choices, Ramin Djawadi, and he did the music for Iron Man, the first Iron Man.
Oh, yeah.
He also did the music for Eternals, which is more recent and is more Marvel.
Yeah.
I have strong, not popular feelings about Eternals.
Same.
As in, I watched 30 minutes of it and I still haven't watched the rest. But he also covers a variety of genres. He covers a variety of things. Game of Thrones is not Iron Man. Iron Man is not the Eternals. Even to be in the same universe, those are very broad and different things. So I think Ramin Djawadi definitely has a spot in the opportunity to do a Star Wars something at some point.
See,
that would be a big one for me.
I love that perspective because I watched Game of Thrones, yes, but I watched the first couple of seasons and I'm like, okay, this is cool. I dig it. But like, part of me, I almost forget you can consider someone like that. And when they do it, yes, I think most people, if they were offered a Star Wars, if they are comfortable enough with writing in that genre, and if they know how different the music can be now, they would. And that's a damn good choice. That is a great choice.
Yeah, that's my first one. What do you have now? What else?
So I got a couple. I can speed through a few of them. Danny Elfman, I mentioned earlier, Oingo Boingo. Yep. He has a way of like channeling that choral aspect, like the let me look it up, the Spider-Man theme, but not like the the goofy one, Spider-Man, like this one. Hold on, I got it pulled up right here. See if it can play. It's very long. Let me get to the good parts. I love that chorus in the background. God.
So as we're listening to this and as we're thinking about it, I kind of said it before and we talked about it like when you talked about synth and that kind of thing. As we go forward with our other choices, because I've got a few more clips to play. I know you've got some others to play, and I love that we're doing this. Let's look at it this way, because the three main things that we have for Star Wars is we have animation, we have series, and we have movies.
Oh, yeah.
So as you put up your choice, let's kind of talk about where does it fit. I said Ramen fits High Republic, and I guess we could do Era too, because High Republic, I mean, Acolyte is a series. So either or, we can do Era or, you know, series, movie, animation, because there are some distinctions there. Something that's a little more experimental tends to fit with the series, just because over the course of 11 movies, we've gotten big score, big orchestra, maybe Rogue One being the exception to that. So just as we go forward, and that hit me because I'm looking at some of my choices and trying to plug them in.
No, that's brilliant, because we're living in an era now where that's hard to discern, right? Where film and TV are almost like the Stranger Things most recent season. Like they could have played all that in the theater, would have sat through all 15 hours of it. You know, it's almost impossible. So if you do find a way to cater the sound or the tones of the music to a show, or even to a, you know, even to a series, it could be movies. Like you said, that's brilliant. Like even if the chat, like tell us what you think, because like the Spider-Man theme, it seems more thematic. It seems more of a movie feeling. And like one of my favorite ones, I'm going to choose real quick just to get through it, is Alan Silvestri, who did the Back to the Future. I mean, he's done so much. I can look up just what he's done. He did the Avengers theme. Like he is a god, you know?
Right.
And like
so much there.
He did, I think he did Endgame and Infinity War, if I'm not mistaken. But I remember him most from Back to the Future. And like you watch a movie like Back to the Future, and yes, it's 80s. Yes, it can be kind of cheesy in moments, but this score is freaking iconic. Like it's unbelievable. Let me play it real quick for y'all. And this is a movie to me. This is a simple DeLorean reveal. Where's the theme at? Maybe there is no theme on here.
There it is.
Yeah.
Again, if we come back to the core of my childhood, Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, Star Wars.
Yep.
It's powerful. It's exciting. It, you know, and it that's got those beat drop moments. It's got the like, which was a different. It's a tool. It's an emotional tool that's used in shows to get music, to get a drop, to get a whatever. But I'm so glad you said Back to the Future, because that's definitely one that's at the top of my list. And
and that's more of a movie feel. That's even more of a New Hope feel. That's in that era. It's an OT song, because there's something way more like we just came out of we just problem solved, and we're you know, the Empire's over us, just like what Marty was going through. His life was hell, and you know, he went back to the future by accident, and he went back to the past, but he had to get back to the future, and he was altering. It was just, that movie's a moment. I could talk about the movie forever, but the reason I bring it up is because it is.
Can we do a Bombad stream at some point that's Back to the Future, and let me come on?
I would love that, because we did, of course, Ghostbusters.
We've done Ghostbusters. We've done James Bond.
James Bond. That's right.
Back to the Future.
I would do Back to the Future in a heartbeat.
I would like to formally request being a part of that. All right, so let me do this. Let me jump to one of mine.
Sure.
Because with the Spider-Man that you talked about, and who was that again? Was that Danny Elfman?
That was Danny Elfman Spider-Man, yeah.
Okay. So with that, you talked about the vocalization. And that's a key thing. That's something that's important as we look at some of this music, obviously with John Williams and with the Phantom Menace, Duel of Fates, vocalization, that choir, that's key. That celebration moment, honestly, was right behind the John Williams moment for me, just because and again, that's an age era thing. Yours and mine were close, but swapped just ever so slightly. Yeah. So one of the choices that I came up with, and I threw in here, let me hit the share. It's going to spoil because it's going to pop up on the screen right away.
No, it's all good.
But John Debney, and I don't know if you know who John Debney is. John Debney did the newer Jungle Book. He did Iron Man 2. But what he also did, and this is where it tied in for me, and not because it was a big deal for the movie, he did the Passion of the Christ soundtrack.
Oh,
in the Passion of the Christ soundtrack, which got a lot of attention when this movie came out, there's also a good bit of vocalization. I don't know if it's in the part that I'm going to play, but as we play this and you listen for a minute, you hear that kind of out there element that's not necessary. You know, it's tribal because you think about where we were in the Passion of the Christ, in that movie, in that period of time, culture, whatever. This is a Middle Eastern sound.
I love it. But
you can see this driving something adventurous. You can see this driving. Funny. Go ahead.
The closest we've gotten to this is whenever Din is with the Tuscans and chapter 9 of the it's that same feel.
I was going to say this has a Book of Boba Fett feel. This has a desert, not to draw too stereotype of a parallel.
No,
but this has a heroic desert feel to it when you listen to this kind of music. So that was kind of an out of the box choice that I thought fit in a unique way. And he does use vocalization in the soundtrack. I couldn't find the one that I thought I was looking for in the moment.
Yeah.
But again, that's another key element and idea when you start to change it up, when you get outside the box of just a John Williams orchestral score. What else can we do? Where can we mix in that guitar line? Where can we mix in, a djembe? Where can we mix in, a recorder? We've talked about it already.
Female vocalist, a female
vocalist, a solo female vocalist, not a choir.
Yeah. You saw Dune when it came out, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. How incredible was it when that woman would did that thing? Yeah, like that was like what? That was like the theme of that movie for them. Well, not really, but for some parts of it, yeah. And Hans Zimmer was on my list as well. I took him off, but he's one of those ones. I don't know if he's on your list as well.
He is, and I thought about things like one of the big ones with him. Of course, he's done a million things, but one of the ones that stands out and that I hear sometimes just in normal everyday life playing in my head is the Jack Sparrow theme. Like that's one of those ones. That's one of those ones that sticks with you. That's a hero theme. That's a heroic theme.
Oh yeah.
Another thing. Again, basically what we're doing is we're saying John Williams is on the left side, everybody on the right side.
Yes.
What thing does this person on the right side do that John Williams does all these things?
Yes.
John Williams does hero themes. Hans Zimmer does a good hero theme.
Oh yeah.
Jack Sparrow's a great one. Gladiator. He did the music for Gladiator. He did the music for Inception, which is another.
But it's funny that fantastic movie, and he did the Batman trilogy as well. And he's done most of. He did Tenet, I believe. No, Ludwig did Tenet, but it sounds like Hans Zimmer, which is pretty weird too. One thing I wanted to say too about just being and having to deal with, someone on the different side, and you're having to approach it from a different perspective as well. You've got that middle ground, the thing that makes it a middle ground, the thing that makes it, I guess you could say, when someone's attempting to do a John Williams, and there have been a lot of those, and I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing to do that, but it's hard to do. And I don't know if Nick's here. I think Nick might have froze. Maybe I froze. I don't know what. Is that me? He said. I think so. Sorry, y'all. Nick left. That's okay though. Let me know if I froze as well. If anyone's watching, I'm out of focus. Okay, so yeah, no, it's funny. Another big one, and I'll pull up a theme by this person, and I can even do this part solo. I know this theme truly, it was in the same era as the prequels. It has the same exact feeling in terms of its triumphant, approach. Thank you, everyone. Those gremlins did come back. They got Nick. And thank you, Troy. I appreciate it. And thank you, William. This theme, Troy and Jaro and I talk about this frequently, and I'll play it for y'all real quick. It's the one that that literally sets me off in every way. The Howard Shore Lord of the Rings. This may be the only other trilogy that I would say is better than Star Wars. And that's crazy. But listen to this. And this is honestly a theme I wasn't even thinking of. I was looking for the let's see. Is it May It Be? No, it's not May It Be. I don't know. Just the Lord of the Rings score within itself is absolutely unreal. And, obviously a lot of composition goes into making that. And I know it's not something that they just do all willy-nilly thinking it's an easy thing to do. But there's a lot of I guess, work that goes into actually pulling off something. And The Shire is the perfect example of hitting that aesthetic. Listen to this. Perfect song. The Shire music will destroy me. Hey, Nick. The Shire music will destroy me.
Howard Shore, is that where we are?
Howard Shore, man. And I know he's done more than Lord of the Rings. And I said this when you left air. I would say the Lord of the Rings music, for me personally, because I grew up watching these movies, are as comparable to Star Wars. Now, can I hum all the melodies for it? No, but when I watch those movies, that music evokes, just the strongest sense of emotion. Whenever Gandalf dies, that is freaking brutal. And of course, there's other big deaths and big moments in those movies, but it's hard. It's hard to achieve that. And there we go. Hey,
Scotty, say goodnight.
Right. We're going to bed soon. Your dad will be joining you in just 2 seconds. Read you a book, guarantee.
Yeah, we're good.
No, but yeah,
that
Howard Shore's the shit.
Howard Shore is fantastic, and Brian's right. Yeah. David Collins does such a good exploration of soundtracks, themes, constructions. That soundtrack show,
perfect.
The
best
so
show
good.
ever.
I'm envious of all the knowledge, all the everything.
God,
in that
he's
show.
so damn smart.
This is my challenge with the Lord of the Rings. And I know I've said this before. This is my hot take.
Here we go.
It's not my bag, baby. I don't care.
That's fine.
I've tried so many times to watch those movies.
Yeah.
I get bored. And it's not fantasy. I like Game of Thrones. I like other.
Yeah.
For some reason, Lord of the Rings doesn't get it for me. So that Howard Shore music from that doesn't register. Not that your choice is invalid, but just I want to be able to relate to it. And I'm going, I don't know, because I don't know that music.
See, and I'll play just another snip of it. This, and not the Shire's music in particular, but this to me would would bring out a like this is the start of the Jedi kind of music to me,
right?
Where it's like kind of slow moving, it's beautiful, it's well done, it's full of heart. It doesn't necessarily have like a a super triumphant feel, but it's still part of it. I don't know. I love Howard Shore. I love this movies and oh look who's in the chat. Heyo, hi sweetheart.
Hey, it's my favorite Katie.
the best Katie, if you will. Look, there's Troy.
Superior Katie.
That's right. But what was one of your other choices? Because I know
all right,
you
let me do this. I've got another one. Let me get a share going on here. This is another, and this is an easy. I say easy. It's a pretty straightforward composer. When we talk about music, we talk about movies. James Horner.
Ooh,
James Horner did Titanic.
He did. Yes, he did Titanic.
Yes, he's recently passed away. I think. I don't remember the timeline.
Super.
And that was the thing. I got hung up on a couple of people because like Vangelis, who did Blade Runner, who did Chariots of Fire. That Vangelis, like he could have done something that would have been crazy in a Star Wars in a different way. Yeah. James Horner, I think we did lose James Horner not that long ago, but like something like he did Titanic, he did Braveheart, he did Avatar.
Yes.
And then my example that I pulled up was Argo. And if anybody's familiar with the movie Argo, again, this has that Boba Fett adventure vibe, experimental a little bit. Trying to get to where, here we go. We get some kind of the peak of it. You're getting that different instrumentalization. You're getting...
Dude, I picture Andor.
Yeah.
That's what I picture.
Again, that's a great example because I see this as following an individual. You're following Cassian weaving through something on his way to something the same way in the Argo movie. You've got Ben Affleck, you've got this group of people trying to get these people out of the embassy, and the tension builds as you're weaving your way through the busy city street. This is definitely an Andor vibe, and I think that's the exact perfect description of that. So James Horner no longer producing, but his vibe fits something like what we're talking about, in my opinion.
God, so sick. And my cousin in the chat, because I don't, Troy has a good taste in music, and that was a great choice, Nick. I don't mean to blush over that at all. That was a damn good choice because I'm eager for Andor. Look, part of the things I like is give me the story, give me the visuals, and of course, what is this music? Is it gonna be triumphant? Because that doesn't sound like a Star Wars to me yet. Right. It could, that Argo song. It could, and I want to bring up this right here. It's he said a band called 65 Days of Static. And I'm gonna pull up their biggest song. And there's a game called No Man's Sky, which I've played before. It's a great game. It's like a continuous game. It doesn't end.
Right.
But this is the song he selected, or he kind of brought in. And the first one I saw in here with a lot of views. Let's see. It's called Radio Protector. I like it. This is a Visions feel. Remember when Visions came out? How weird the music was for that show.
Yep.
I'm gonna go a little bit further on this one. Oop, it seemed like it froze. Am I gonna die now? Like Nick died? Oh, it's got a more of a rock feel. And you know what's funny? Foo Fighters kind of drums, like you said earlier.
Right. Yep.
Like that's what that was a little bit to me. A driving drum beat. Yeah, man. Here's
something interesting too, because we're talking about Andor with that Argo bit with what Troy was talking about. I pulled up real quick on IMDb to see if we have listed. We do have listed who's doing the music for Andor. And it is somebody named Nicholas Britell. I don't know if you want to hit a YouTube and see if there's something that you see.
Of course.
He did Winning
spell the last
Time, which
name?
is the Laker Brit. Oh, where'd it go? Brittell.
Yep.
He did the movie Moonlight,
Succession,
which was a big deal movie a couple years ago. He did the movie Succession, the movie Big Short, the movie of Beale Street Could Talk. I'm just looking at IMDb now.
Wow.
Cruella, the Disney movie Cruella. He's done some stuff.
my.
He's done some interesting things, and there's a little bit of range there. So that's who's listed for Andor at this point. So I don't have a reference point for his music and what he's done. But it's one of those ones that, what do we got here?
This is the Nicholas Britell, The Middle of the World Moonlight soundtrack official video.
Okay.
Let's see. I don't want to get taken down, so I'm going to pull up the comments. Now, I'd never heard this song before. I haven't seen Moonlight before.
Yeah, same.
But it's a great movie.
Mm-hmm. I think it had Oscar buzz back in the day. Maybe even won some.
Some violins and cello, yeah. Seems kind of like French almost, in the sense of like it's a different approach. Very dramatic.
Interesting. I like it. I'm trying to figure out
Andor
where it
trailer
fits.
now too.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where that fits, because if I'm playing word association, the first thing that popped up in my head was, where does this fit in the Ahsoka series? Where does this fit with a Thrawn reveal, maybe in an Ahsoka
You know what's
series?
funny?
Something like that.
I can only see Thrawn being classical. Like, I mean that.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like that. Very
like
articulated.
almost and this is the thing with Thrawn. It's control within chaos, because Thrawn's whole thing is control. It's art, it's studying, it's all that kind of stuff mixed with, what if there's a little bit of chaos in there? What if there's, I like what Troy said here, a very elegant lightsaber duel. Something that's higher class, not as raw energy, more refined.
God, more samurai too. So this is okay. This is Andor right here. And obviously great trailer. We got to see this live too, Nick.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, we had a good weekend.
I would say, I think we did well.
This is a cool bit. Is there any music in this? Let's see. Oh, some Eastern kind of throat singing.
Ooh,
very
throat
Dune.
singing.
Yeah, some. Now, obviously, this is some tribal. This is some trailer music, so it may not exactly be the same.
Right, and it's subdued, but it's also it's powerful in its own in its simplicity.
Themselves, so fat and satisfied.
I can't wait for this show.
I know.
They're watching me now.
Barely a month away.
Y'all can hear those drums too. Y'all can hear the. Oh,
so
it's
it
good.
fits with. Honestly, I can see it translating as a different version just of that one Britell track you played. I can see how there's a translation there.
God, man, that was
that's
cool.
pretty cool.
That was a good choice. That because you mentioned Argo and everything.
Yeah.
Did you want to give one? Did you want me to give one? Because I've got a couple.
Go ahead and
more.
do one. I think I've got one. Now hold on. I played that Argo clip, but who did I say that was? I said that was James Horner, and I was wrong.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Oh, it wasn't James Horner?
Correction. No, it wasn't James Horner. James Horner was Titanic, Braveheart, Avatar. The Argo clip was Alexander Desplat, and Alexander Desplat was the one who was supposed to do Solo, if I'm not mistaken, and got replaced at the last minute, and Powell did it with like a month ahead of time to go.
Yeah.
So Alexander Desplat did the King's Speech, did the movie The Queen, did that Argo bit. He may not be on the best terms with Star Wars right now if he bailed or for whatever reason he didn't end up doing the solo soundtrack. But I had that wrong earlier. I just read it wrong off my paper. So that was what that was. But yeah, do another one of yours. And then I have a sentimental favorite, which is not necessarily realistic.
This is my, well, I wouldn't say, you know what? I'm going to switch it up. The one group of people that I've always wanted to hear more music from, and trust me, I know they haven't released a new album since 2013, was Daft Punk. And I don't know how much you've ever gotten into them. I don't know if you like French house music. I don't know. And I know you were growing up when Discovery was probably big in college with like One More Time, like all that stuff was probably kind of a huge part of your party, maybe life. I don't know. But I bring up Daft Punk because they did the score for Tron Legacy. Now, I don't know if you've seen Tron Legacy. That movie's sick, and people had a lot of hot takes when it came out, and I understand. But needless to say, the music for this movie is unreal. It's like orchestral meets synthetic, and it's the perfect blend. I mean, it really is. And of course, there have been remixes of it that are really good. And I recently acquired this on vinyl and listened to the whole thing. It's a long soundtrack, but like, just like their approach. It's just, it's a French taste, right? Oh, I need to add one more too as well after this. Damn it. We're gonna keep going, Nick.
I have no problems with that. I am here for it.
Well, you got tomorrow night show. I can't stop you from doing tomorrow night show too.
We have plenty of time. I'm a night owl, my friend. I am thriving right now.
But it's funny with a band like Daft Punk, and they've been known to make dance music, but a driving beat, like you've been saying, is part of the vibe, and that is truly, to its deepest core, part of the approach. And apparently Daft Punk had been in the works for doing the Tron 3 soundtrack, which I don't even know if Tron 3 is coming out anymore. So like, I don't know. I have a huge place. They're a huge place in my heart for as growing up. But like, they've got songs like on their most Random Access Memories that are just unique sounding songs and like not really them. And they reinvented themselves. And I think they have this chance to be able to make music that's super driving. Like Thomas Bonglotter is like the main guy. He's got the silver helmet. And he did a score for a French movie. God, I forget the name of it. But the song is unbelievable. I mean, Nick, it is like all you want to do is move to it, but it's so fast and it's so ridiculous. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
But here's the challenge, Scotty.
Here we go.
Daft Punk broke up in January of this year.
I know, but you never. So the thing is, the idea of them like getting back together, that is ridiculous. I can agree.
No, I get it,
but in terms of like creating music and having a back catalog, it's not impossible. It's not. So I think Nick died again. Maybe not. Oh no, he's back. He's back. I thought he died for a second. So this one, M18. I don't know if y'all can hear it.
Oh yeah, I got you.
Unbelievably driving. I can see this in a chase scene. But also, Ludwig did something like this when the damn Death Troopers showed up. Dark Troopers.
Yes.
It was like dubstep.
Yes, the Dark Troopers. This is very Dark Trooper.
There's a really crazy drum fill here. Now, would I want that in a Star Wars? I don't know. If we got it, that'd be pretty freaking sick. I'm not gonna lie.
I'll say this right off the bat. With something like that, I lean more Imperial than I do Rebel.
Yes.
It has
I agree.
There's a structure to it, even if it is upbeat, if it's, higher BPM, that kind of thing, like with what Ludwig did with the Dark Troopers. It fits that vibe. It hits a different way, but to me, it hits more Imperial, an Imperial montage of some sort, an Imperial, this is what's going on around the galaxy as the Imperials do X, Y, and Z. Because it's fast and it's in your face.
Yes.
Where if you're normal citizenry, dealing with the Empire coming at you, that's what it feels like. It feels high pressure and fast, and how you have to deal with it. Mod Parlor.
I love
There's
that.
a great point.
Mod
Parlor from Book of Boba Fett.
Who would have ever thought we would have got weird electric bass music, in Book of Boba Fett? And that was literally played by Thundercat, who's an incredible bassist. But but it's just weird, right? Like, you can pull it off when you have the right scene, like you said. Imperial, it could be a pirate scene. That when I hear that song, that's what comes to mind. Kind of a pirate, like chase scene, or something going wrong in a ship, and you don't know what the hell to do. Like, I don't know.
I am wholly unfamiliar with the High Republic, but I know that you. But I know, and maybe willingly so at this point. But I also know that you have the Nihil. And maybe that's what the Nihil soundtrack is. It's
what's funny?
Aggressive, double time, that kind of thing.
You're so right, because in Light of the Jedi, which I've listened to and heard, they listen to metal music, and it's like a thrash. They call it thrash something. I don't remember. One of Connor or Michael or Jerry could correct me, but like, they have a music, and it's a lot like that in the audiobook. So you are pretty damn spot on with that one.
Right.
What was your like pipeline? Like, what was the one?
Here's my sentimental pick. This is my emotional sentimental pick. I have said for a million years, it is still the case. It will not change anytime soon. My favorite TV show of all time is The West Wing. And this music is by W.G. Snuffy Walden. The main theme from The West Wing, it's another non-skip. It is, and this is movie stuff. This is high traditional classic movie. I mean,
I can tell you what I picture.
Tell me.
I picture Coruscant, like upper class political drama. Obviously, I know West Wing is that, but it's hard to separate what it is from what it could be applied to. It really is.
Right. Well, and that makes a lot of sense, and it fits with that vibe of,
I picture Naboo as well.
Yeah, Coruscant, Naboo, something, a higher society, a higher class, a higher something.
Yeah.
I have joked for a long time. One of the things that I really would love to have in Star Wars is a series about the Imperial Senate written by Aaron Sorkin. Like, basically give me the Star Wars version of the West Wing.
West Wing, yeah.
And let's let Snuffy do the music. He's in his 80s now, but you know what? You can still do it. He worked on Friday Night Lights. He did, some of that other stuff. So that's my emotional, sentimental pick, because I love The West Wing so much. It is my favorite TV show of all time. And again, that for me, and especially that theme, is a very traditional orchestral kind of theme. And it runs throughout the show. It's not just that main theme, but he scores the show. He has those moments. There's lots of snare drum, because you've got these, it's not military, but it's government moments. And so, the theme opens up previously on the West Wing with a snare going. But
it's funny, that theme harkens back to like 18th century America. You know what I mean? Like, it's supposed to like channel that bygone era of America, which, we all still hold on to for some reason. It's just, it's long gone, but there was something about being a free nation. And like, that's what that feels like. Right. And those drums, the military drums obviously goes back to that ultimate, the Revolutionary War. Right. And that's a good pick. That was a good pick.
Like I said, that's my sentimental pick. The only other one I had on my list that I don't think we've talked about so far, and I honestly didn't go back and look it up to re-listen to it, but I remember he did it. There's a guy named Steve Jablonsky, and Steve Jablonsky did the music for the first Transformers movie when Transformers came out. And I remember that being very theme. Of course, we're talking Michael Bay. We're talking big stuff. I mean, big Transformers, Crash Boom, Megan Fox, the whole deal. But it was very soundtracky. It was very, movie score, action movie. And I feel like that's another one. If you want that big cinema vibe, there's the potential that he could have done something like that.
Hell yeah. And it's funny, like we've been saying, it's not impossible that this thing could happen. You know what I mean? Like, I would love to see anyone on our list show up one day, and it's not impossible. Like, I didn't know Natalie Holt's name, but I'll tell you, that Loki theme was a freaking awesome theme when it was.
And my kids lost their mind when I told them, because my kids are obsessed with Loki, and they were like, "Oh my God, that's the Loki person," and I was like, "You knew that, and I didn't." Like, it was
exactly. See, and there's something to that. And you know what? Obviously, a lot of Star Wars won't be made for us one day, and I mean that. Like, we're gonna watch Star Wars and go, that wasn't made for me. That was made for someone else. And I think we will accept that. And one of my last ones, because I have a couple on the list that I've already kind of gotten to. A couple of mentions. Kevin Parker was one of them. That's the guy from Tame Impala. And I don't know if you know this, he's a huge Star Wars fan. And he like mentions Ewoks in his songs as a joke every now and then. But like, his music's psychedelic rock, and it's very atmospheric. Trey mentioned this one whenever we put that list out. I would agree with Trey. That's really one of the musicians I could see doing a Star Wars, but like maybe a more of a modern Star Wars, maybe a little more of a drama Star Wars rather than a big triumphant one. There we go. We're back. So my other last pick is now I don't know how much you've ever watched The Fifth Element. You maybe saw it when it came out in 97. I love this movie. The soundtrack of this movie is so of an era that I can't believe it. It captured a perfect time of 90s futuristic, kind of like Matrix did, where it's like that weird, intersect between, pre 9/11. And I know that sounds weird, but I have a big theory on music, where music significantly changed after 9/11 in America's culture. But this, Luc Besson, French, Eric Serra, also French, and like they have a very French approach to music. And I don't know, I think I'm just attracted to French people making really unique and weird sounding music. This one also has somewhat of a Eastern vibe, but it doesn't at the same time, because it has more of a French style instrumentation, which I can see fitting in Star Wars. Hear this. There you go, Brian. That's whenever they're in the back of the taxi cab. And she's like, and she's like, she's a bada boom. That's that scene. I do love the French. I love Nicky Kumar. He's French. One of the weird ones that I wanted to bring up, just because people have forgotten about it, the original Dune soundtrack in 1984 was by Toto. So
yes, it was.
People need to remember that, because that Dune theme was freaking awesome. Listen to this theme. It's super memorable. I mean, that's simple. Dun, 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 dun. Like, kind of had that John Williams feel to it. But that's right. French kissing. Man,
Scotty's gonna go to bed listening to some Edith Piaf tonight. It's gonna be on.
That's it. She's like, it is 10 o'clock. Time for bed. No, but I want to say this before we even end up wrapping up. Obviously, we're happy with pretty much whatever Star Wars gives us. Maybe one day we'll be unsatisfied in terms of music. But at this point, I think we're living in a golden era. It's experimental. We're gonna get weird stuff one day. I'm excited to look back, when Nick's in the retirement community and I'm, going through menopause or whatever men go through.
That's right.
And
when I'm at Jabba the Hutt's retirement home.
Yes. and we'll go, well, it used to be good back in our day, you know. And
when I was
just
a
happy
kid,
to say,
we didn't have underwear, salt, or potatoes. We were happy for it.
we were thankful for anything.
We ate dirt every day of the week.
Interview. That's right. We ate dirt and drank whiskey. But in all seriousness, I'm hopefully looking forward to the future, and I hope that it's good. I hope that it's rich for us. You know,
I'll throw this out there just as kind of not a caveat, but a tack on to what you're talking about or what you're saying. We say it all the time. You say it, I say it, Pete says it. We say it when we talk to each other. We say it when we're on other shows. If there's Star Wars music that I don't like, you know what? I don't have to listen to it.
Nope.
Like you said, the Kenobi soundtrack didn't blow me away. I love that John Williams came back and did a theme for Obi-Wan Kenobi.
The theme was good.
I love that we got to hear it for the first public time at Celebration with
Unreal
John conducting. It'll be one of the highlights of my life. The rest of the soundtrack, it's not bad. It's not my favorite Star Wars music, but you know what I don't have to do? Be forced to listen to it every day. Because if I want to go listen to the Star Wars soundtrack or the Jedi soundtrack or John Powell and Solo or it's all out there. And that's the beauty of it. It's not, first of all, it's not for me. It's for all of us.
Yeah.
And the parts that I like, I get to listen to until my ears fall off my head. The parts that I don't like, nobody's making me do it. Nobody's making
exactly.
me do it. So it is great. And I want more stuff. And I want you to give me I want you, Lucasfilm. I'm looking at you. Meet me at camera 1. I want you to give me whatever you want to give me, and I'll listen to it and I'll decide, you know what? I love this. I can't wait to get it in rotation in my office, in my car, in my whatever I'm doing. Or I'll wait to go, that's cool. Somebody loves that. Probably Scotty or Gerry, but it's not me. And I get to move on and listen to we're so lucky. We're so blessed that we get the things that we get from these creators who put their heart and soul into it. Just because they put their heart and soul in it and doesn't speak to mine doesn't mean it's not good.
No.
That's it. That's my
it's just part of it too. And you know, I mean, people have their own feelings towards certain, you know, trilogies, and I understand it. And some I don't respect, but I understand it. But part of it's like, you're so right. You know, people for some reason tend to think like if George didn't make it, it's not Star Wars, whatever. But I have a feeling George would like all this music and all this variety that now his brand and his little idea have made, you know, his legacy. So like, I don't know. I think music will always be music. I mean, Nick might love the blues, and I think the blues is okay. Whatever, you know, whatever it could be. And I'm just happy to celebrate this with you, particularly because we have the same sensibilities and we know what to expect of real life Star Wars. We don't have these blown out expectations. Like, I didn't think the Kenobi, like going into Kenobi, I kept saying, I hope it's good. I hope I like it. And I left it not really loving it. Right. And that's okay. Right. I can still watch the Duel of the Fates edit, you know, on YouTube right now and be very happy because it's good. But you don't want to poo-poo on someone's enjoyment of anything.
Right.
And it's not fair to that person. And that ultimately leads to one big thing, Nick. You know what that one big thing is? One big thing is the plug Podathon. What's Podathon, Nick?
Podathon is a 12, maybe 12 to 15 at this point, hour charity podcast stream that is going to happen on Saturday, September the 17th, 2022. Me, you, the Podfather Pete Fletzer, who's busy right now playing retirement home rock. We're going to let him go. Too far? Not enough? I don't know.
Oh, it's perfect.
We have been working hard and are continuing to work hard with the help of some other amazing friends to plan this charity podcast stream. And it's going to start at the beginning of the day on Saturday. It's going to go all the way through the end of the day, maybe on the other side. We'll see. And we are raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, a truly amazing organization that does so much good work. I have one of my best friends here in Montgomery has a daughter who is a Make-A-Wish child. We heard her story last year during Podathon. I think we're going to get an update from them this year, which I'm excited for them to, you know, share.
Yeah.
But we're working to raise money for Podathon. We've got 15 shows, Star Wars shows. We put them at the top of this. They're going to come in. They're going to share who they are, what they do. Guests. Guests. We have guests. And buckle your seatbelts, friends, because we've got guests. You'll
know by next week, hopefully.
You will know by next week a lot of it, or some of it, or big parts of it. I'm just telling you right now, you're not ready. And this isn't an undersell. This isn't like I'm not ready, and I know. I'm not ready, and I know.
I will use the phrase that was stated: career-changing guests.
Some of y'all saw. I think Pete put the picture up on Twitter earlier this week, or maybe you put it up. Whoever put it up,
someone
did. Picture of you and me and Pete.
We're all like
getting the news of who one of these guests are going to be. And I believe I have a highlighter in my mouth like this. It's because I was in my office with the door closed and relatively thin walls. And in that moment, in that picture, I was cursing and trying not to yell that curse word at the top of my lungs because this is legit. And most importantly, it's legit for a really worthy cause. And it's for a really great opportunity to raise money. We're trying to hit $10,000. Last year we did $82.75, I think. It's a big deal. There's so much that's going to come, so much more information coming in the next few weeks. Pete announced earlier, I think this week, one of our first raffle prizes is from Regal Robot. If you were at Celebration or if you weren't at Celebration, they had a convention exclusive plaque that was Blue Harvest, which was from the original shooting name for Return of the Jedi. It's a wooden plaque. It's awesome. I didn't buy one at Celebration and wish I had. They've offered to donate one of those for one of our raffle winners. We've got prizes coming from Lucasfilm, a bunch of the book folks. Like, we've got a bunch of stuff on deck, and we're continuing to get folks on board. We want it to be fun for you. We want you to donate. We want you to tell your friends. For, again, one of the most worthy causes I can think of. Make-A-Wish literally does just that. They make wishes happen for families with children with terminal illnesses, difficult situations, and it's so good. And I can't wait for people to hear more about what we're doing. And you're going to hear a lot more between now and September 17th.
Yeah, a lot. A ton. And you know what's funny? It's like, it's hard to believe that in between all that, we'll have shows like, we'll have Andor in between all of that. And we'll have, D23 in between all of that. And I agree, Brian. Donate early and you actually get more chances to win things from the raffle, right? You get more entries in. And, if you're a Bombadcast patron, because we only have so many patrons right now, and I'll read that list in a second, you are going to go home with a Fandom Gives Back Podathon button before the actual event occurs. So our first giveaway is going to have a little bit of these in there on top of having other things. And Brian robbed the entire raffle. Well, that is true. We're going to figure out maybe the Wheel of Death might be a different approach. We have no idea.
That's right. We're still working on that. That wheel last year was bananas.
That was insane.
Actually, it broke halfway through and we had to go to a different website.
We did, and it was so much entry. That being said, if you don't mind, Nick, let me get my my patrons, including you, a nice shout out. Whoa, on Twitch. That's weird. I didn't think people watched us on Twitch, except for Bombad Gaming. Our patrons are as listed: Rick Villanueva, Nick Mielke, Joey Tight Pants Organa, my boy, Rez, Seth Parnell, Jaron Bachman Stubbs, Trivia Loser, Jeff Qualala. We also got Brian Fry. What a weird name. Michael McCoy. We've also got M for Peakmoke, Brian Hennessy, not Brian Hennessy. Todd DeGrossier. We also got Chase Hauser. What a wonderful That Gay Jedi. I love Chase. Wesley Woolridge, William Hardy. He's in the chat right now. We got Preston Dugas, another one of my students. Eli from In a Galaxy. Trey Mitchell, the goated, the greatest. We got David at K2S Bro, yo. We got Alden Diaz. We got Buck O'Brien. And we got Richie Rasputin. So those are the patrons. This has been Nick Mielke and Scotty Jarrow, the new iteration of Bombadcast. Jerry, unfortunately, will never be able to make it back. But no, in all seriousness, Nick, I love you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming on.
I love you too.
Plug what you got going on tomorrow.
I was like, can I plug something else?
Yes.
Great minds, you and I, Scotty Jarrow.
That's right.
Tomorrow night, streaming Star Wars Friday night, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Me and the Podfather Pete back from his retirement home rock tour. We are going to sit down with the outstanding Kyle Newman. You may know Kyle Newman as the director of the movie Fanboys. He has a new movie out on Amazon Prime called One Up. He also is an author. He's written a Dungeons and Dragons book for people who play Dungeons and Dragons. Kyle's going to come hang out with us tomorrow night. Yeah, Kyle's going to come hang out with us tomorrow night. We're going to talk about Star Wars and video games. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So Friday night, you know what we do on Streaming Star Wars? We have a drink, we do the news, and we talk with a fun guest about whatever it is. Yeah, I'm going to do the news right now that I haven't written yet. This is me. This is Nick Mielke, and you're listening to Disturbances in the Force. All the links to the original stories can be found in the notes, and I encourage you to check them out.
I love it.
Tomorrow night, Kyle Newman, Fanboys, me, Pete, hanging out, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Would love to see y'all there. And then next week, Podcast of the Wills, we are diving into Attack of the Clones canon study. It's time. Phantom Menace is over. Attack of the Clones is next up.
Who's the guest? Who is? I don't even know. You haven't told me.
TBD. I haven't recorded it yet.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure you can find one of us in our little friend group that we can make it work. That's awesome, though. I'm excited. That's going to be a good canon study. I mean, your episodes with Claire, your episodes with Boop, your episodes with Peter. I mean, the Phantom Menace ones are the ones I listened to all the way through. And I was like, these people have such interesting perspectives on one movie. And I never knew I needed to hear it. You can even get like a crazy one like Alden Diaz to do Attack of the Clones. Charlie Ashby. There's people
I've got a
there.
whole list of people lined up.
There's people.
And what I'm working on, part of we're just working on scheduling. That's always,
That's
as
right.
you know, in this space, getting people available when they can.
You're the only one I can just text, like, tell your wife right now.
Tell your wife she doesn't need you on Thursday night. Scotty texted me and said, do I need to text your wife? Better yet, does Katie need to text your wife?
Katie.
He knows how this works, and he's not even married yet.
Not yet. I'm pretty clever. That being said, Nick, I wouldn't mind you doing it. But I think I've plugged everything. Patreon, join it, $7 a month. Nick's a part of it. We need to do some more with it. It's been kind of a wild month going on vacations. But always Bombadcast every Thursday. If you love it, come back. It's one of my favorite things to do, as you can tell. You did hear your name. Your name was, you just scrub back literally 1 minute and you'll be able to know what it is. That being said, let's close at the show. Nick, what should the wonderful, wonderful people do?
Stay Bombad.
Did you say impossible? Pasquale? Only kidding, Chucky. I've changed my tune because I finally thought of a possible dream that we can all share.
What is it?
Pasquale? It's a dream about a world when nobody is poor or sick or hungry.
Oh, now that's a dream we can make come true.
I'm gonna make a change for once in my life. It's gonna feel real good. Gonna make a difference. Gonna make it right.
As I point up the collar on my favorite winter coat, this wind is blowing my mind.
I see the kids in the street with not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their need? A soundless disregard, a broken bottle top,
and a one-man soul. They follow each other on the wind, you know, 'cause they got nowhere to go. That's why I want you to know I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking you
Loser, trivia loser, loser, you wear stupid shirts. You're a loser.
Jared lost at trivia. Jared lost at trivia. The great Jedi lost
loser.
at trivia.
He lost at trivia, loser.
Here's that rainy day.